Hey guys, what's up? It's been a while that ago since I created this effect, but a lot of people have been requesting me to do a tutorial for it, but I was just too busy with all kinds of work stuff. But now some projects are finished, so finally have time to do a little tutorial for this. It's been a while that I made it, so maybe I'll make some mistakes here and there, but you'll learn from that as well. But anyway. Let's first create a look at what we're going to create. So let me play this. So it's the water effect from the Lego movie. If you haven't seen the Lego movie, it's really awesome, really funny, but also just the effects, the CG stuff in general. It's really cool. They have explosions and water effects and all kinds of other stuff, which is all using Lego bricks. To create the effect. It really looks like a stop motion effect, which is just really cool. So I'm gonna go over basically this effect here. I'm using Cinema 4D with X particles here. It's a two-step process. First we're gonna do a fluid simulation. Just a regular fluid simulation, kind of low res, and then we're gonna clone bricks within the initial fluid simulation. For the initial fluid simulation, as I said, I'm just using X particles for now, but you could use RealFlow, Houdini, or Blender, or whatever. Basically, all of the things you can also do in other software. It's not exclusively to Cinema 4D. You can probably, if you're familiar with other packages and know your way around it, you can probably use all these techniques to do it yourself in Maya or 3D Max or Blender or Modo or whatever program you're fancy of using. So without further ado, let's start doing this. Okay, so let me just get the standard layout. All right. So okay, I'm probably gonna make a few mistakes here and there, and also the whole it's quite a slow process. There's a lot of caching involved, so I might pause the video here and there and just cut out some stuff. But anyway, so okay, we're gonna use X particles. I'm using X particles 3. You can probably use X particles 2.5, but for this system I'm using the flip domain. This one, which is new in X particles 3, I think. You could maybe also do it with SPH fluids or RealFlow or whatever other fluid program you want to use. Doesn't have to be super high-end simulation anyway, so X particles is fine enough for now. Anyway, so create the X particle system, which keeps it nice and organized, and let's call this system fluid simulation, because we're going to create multiple of those. And let's create a flip domain. By the way, you could also create them if you see me using this screen every now and then, like XP flip for example, to create it. You can open this up by using Shift C, and you get this command menu, and it's really useful for quickly creating stuff. So you can just type stuff and create them, which is pretty nice. Anyway, so this is our grid, which we're gonna simulate, which is basically how most GPU based fluid sims work. They create a grid and they create voxels within the grid, and that's where all the simulation magic happens. Which is also, if you have RealFlow, for example, you have the SPA solver, which doesn't use a grid, but then you have Hybrido and Diverso, which use a grid because they're GPU based. But that's a bit too technical for now. Anyway, just create this thing, and now let's just create a emitter, which is this little thing, and let's make it a spherical emitter. I'll get a little bit bigger. Here we go. So if we're gonna press play now, it's just there, random particles just floating around in the scene there. Let me make my sequence a bit longer. So of course we want them to fall down, so we need gravity. So we can do XP gravity for this one, or you can of course go to modifiers and then go to, where was it again? I think it was here, motion modifiers, gravity. I don't really like going in these lists always, so that's why I'm just using, for stuff, I'm using the Shift C thing. Okay, anyway, now as you can see, particles start falling down, and also because I'm screen recording, things might get really slow really fast. I have a pretty fast computer, but I'm recording at UHD, and I'm doing pretty heavy simulation stuff, so if that happens, you know what it is. Anyway, so we now have this sphere, and there's this particles falling down. I hope you can see it in the compression. As I see, I'm recording at UHD, so everything is 1 pixel, so maybe it's less than 1 pixel. They're all kind of small. If I zoom out, you can see it a bit better. Which is something I think they should maybe fix in X particles, that you can set the tick size to be more than 1 pixel, because it can be kind of annoying. Like if I'm doing it on my regular HD screen that I have to the right here, then it looks fine. Of course, you can also in display, you can also make it axis, which is more visible, or spheres. Doesn't really matter. For now, this might be better, so you can see a little bit of what's happening. Anyway, so in the emission tab, you have a lot of ton of options. Right now, it's set to rate, which is basically the rate at which they're emitting. So it's 1,000 particles per second. But we want to do a shot, because as you saw before, it's a ball of water that's gonna fall down. So we want it to be just a ball of water. Maybe up this a little bit. So now it will shoot at the frames, and they will fall down and go like that. Pretty simple stuff, right? And with the flip domain, it's X particle. I mean, if you want a really high-end fluid stuff, then X particles isn't for you. But like for just not too complicated fluid stuff, just for some motion graphics type work, or whatever, like if you're doing a commercial for whatever, Coca-Cola or whatever you want to do, like a twirly cola going into the bottle, it's fine for that. But if you want to do really high-end fluid simulations, RealFlow is just better, because it caches all the frames. I mean, you can cache in here, but it's just the whole RealFlow just handles a lot of particles better. But X particles is more user-friendly, and it works faster for just moving stuff around and ending the formats. Just my basic opinion. Also because you don't have to cache all the time. Anyway, so I'm dropping this ball. Maybe I can create a little bit more of that. So we can go into the flip domain, and you have a ton of stuff in here which you can change. Don't think I'm gonna go into any of it for now. Maybe can tweak it a little bit, but I think for my initial example I didn't really change much. I think I'm okay with just the way it was before. So let's just leave it at this for now. Of course, you can play around with all of the settings in here. You can also create gaseous stuff. So like if you want to do an explosion type of effect, maybe, then you could use that. It's much slower, of course, but now it's more like a gas ball falling down instead of a instead of water, which also creates a pretty cool effect. But that's not what we want for now, so let's just keep it at. You can put in viscosity, of course, if you want, to make it more thicker. So now it's like honey falling down. But of course, for our effect, we just want it to be water. Which is also like in real flow, you have actual real world viscosity values, which you don't have in here. Anyway, so this effect, as you can see, it's already getting quite slow, even though we're not doing anything too crazy, but it's still, it's 20,000 particles, whatever. So what we want to do is we're gonna cache this thing. So let's type xp cache, put it over here. You can also find it under, where is it? Like I don't know where all that stuff is. I just type it. Wait, where? Anyway, it's in here somewhere. Just start getting used to using the Shift C thing. Okay, so we have a cache thing. Automatically it will include everything, but let's set it to only include the things we're gonna put in here, because we're gonna use multiple setups. So it's just, and we're gonna cache multiple times, so it's a good thing to just include it like a separate cache for every thing that we're creating. Okay, so we want to set a cache directory, because my C disk isn't that big, so I'm gonna go to, call it, I have a separate disk for cache stuff, so I'm gonna put it in the tutorial thing over there. So what this is doing, it will save all the particles in a cache file, so you have smooth playback. Like for example, if you're scrubbing, you can see all the particles are doing crazy because they're being calculated when they're on the frame when I play. So if I build my cache now, I can click here to build cache, and it will start building my cache. So let's wait for that a bit. Always waiting. I'm not taking a break. I'm simulating, or rendering, or whatever is what you tell your boss or co-workers when you're having your 5th coffee in the morning. It's like, are you having coffee again? Are you still taking a break? No, I'm not having a break. I'm rendering, or I'm solving this very awesome fluid simulation. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, then it's fine. Then it's fine. Anyway, so now I can. So this is finished, and I can scrub through this whole thing. A little bit more particles. Okay, so I'm gonna increase the max particles a little bit. Sorry for that. And then I'm gonna rebuild the cache, because we don't really need a super high res simulation, but you do want enough particles to get sort of a little bit of detail. Because of course, like in our example, I mean, it's not, because as you can see, I simmed it a bit too low here, because there's a couple of gaps coming in here. That's because of the lack of resolution. But like the overall thing is you don't need super high res, you just need the basic look of the whole thing. Why do more than necessary, right? Anyway, so now we have this nice sim. You can see it twirling around a little bit. So now what we need to do is mesh this whole thing. So let's go XP mesh. What was it called again? No, not supply mesh. Okay, now for this we're gonna go into the generators, and we're gonna it was called Skinner, whatever. Okay, XP Skinner, and we're gonna put in the emitter in there. Why isn't it working? Or am I doing something wrong? fuck isn't it working? Skinner. Surface. Okay. Ah, there we go. Okay, so I put in the XP scanner. Just got my water mesh. So as you can see, we're getting really low quality, ugly mesh thing here. There's a ton of different options in here which you can choose from, and like a lot of sliders to increase the polygon size. And let me see if I can. I don't want to push it. Maybe just leave it at hard. You can just play around this. They just give you different types of effects. For our purpose, it doesn't really matter that much. The polygon size could be a little bit smaller. I don't want it to go too small because it just gets really heavy really fast. I do want a little bit more detail in there, so put the surface level a little bit down, and maybe put this to 60. Share it a little bit up. Like, and if you make your sim a bit more high res, of course, if you have more particles, then you will get a better result. But as I say, it will get pretty heavy pretty fast. But I guess for now, is this good enough? I say for now this is good enough for this. Okay, so now we want to cache this again, so go to the cache object and go to put in the water mesh, and let's build this whole thing again. So now we're gonna build the cache again. So, and this time it will take a little bit longer because it will rebuild the particles as well as the mesh thing. But let's just keep the fluid sim cache just the same cache object. Else it'll go crazy. Like, I think in my original example I actually used like 3 or 4 different cache objects. I don't know. I'm not even sure if it will calculate like everything again, or if it actually uses the cache data from the separate cache and then use it in a new cache. I have no idea. I thought it might, but after a while it started getting quite slow, so I'm not sure if it's actually doing that. So if you know, just tell me. And there's some crazy shit going on in here. Why is there the water is sort of floating on top of it? Anyway, it doesn't really matter for now, as long as you get the basic concept right. Also, something I still need to figure out is how to, like, this is now for one color. Actually, I would also like foam to have a different color, which you can generate foam particles in X particles, but I haven't gotten to trying to change the color based on the foam and everything. Maybe I'll look into that someday, but haven't gotten to that yet. So I'm just mumbling onward while the whole caching thing is continuing to do its thing. I should get a new microphone, by the way, right? Like, I bought this microphone a while ago. It absolutely sucks because, as you can hear, the audio quality isn't that great. But I don't do much tutorials anyway. Maybe I might from now, but like, sometimes I'm just so busy and I just don't really get the time to do them. I have like tons of ideas for awesome tutorials, but I guess I should maybe go ahead and do more of them. So this is almost finished simulating. Maybe I'll just make the sequence a bit shorter. It's 250 frames now. Maybe I'll just make it 220 or 200. Just to save a little bit of time. I mean, I like talking to you this way. You can get to know each other a bit better, you know. But hooray, it's done. Look at this awesome fluid-ish simulation, super low resolution. Let's just preview it in real time. So you can, if you don't know, you can go to render, make preview, and you can make a. I don't know why it's always it's full render every time. You don't want to. Why would you want to create a preview at full render? Anyway, you want to do a hardware preview. Let me put up the resolution a little bit. And press OK. So this is going to calculate a preview, so I can play it back in real time. Actually, I sped up this example in. I sped up my my animation in After Effects, I think, because I wanted to go a little bit faster in the end. But you could also just make it faster inside of Xparticles, of course. But I don't know why they have to make preview the basic settings at full render. I mean, if you want to do a full render, you will just do your full render, but like rendering takes forever. So why would you want to do that? Anyway, so now it opens up this preview window, and you can press with play instead of F8. Like normally inside of Cinema you press with F8, but it controls this thing. So now with space you can play back, and I have no idea why it's not previewing my mesh object. That's kind of weird. So yeah, anyway, good enough. I guess we'll just have to live with this. Okay, so now we got this whole basic fluid thing. We're gonna create a second system, because this is just our basic thing. We're not gonna touch this again. So yeah, so let's create a new system. So go to the Xparticles thing, Xparticles system. Let's create this. Let's call it voxel grid. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna generate Lego bricks inside of this mesh thing that we created. And we're gonna do it within a voxel grid. So that's basically like a grid of, like, okay, you'd have to imagine that there's like lines. Like, okay, so if you see the polygons, like you would create them, like for example within those shapes. It's just straight lines instead of a randomly chaotic thing. And you have to be warned, this is gonna get really fucking heavy. Maybe Xparticle isn't the best idea to do this, because I think what it's doing is that it's creating clones inside of this whole fucking box and then just removing the stuff that's not visible. I'm not sure, but I think that's what's happening, because it will get really fucking slow, and you always won't be able to preview it in real time in viewport. Anyway, you're warned. So let's create another emitter, and let's call this Lego brick generator. There we go. Right. Well, that's fancy. Okay, so now for emitter shape, we wanna not emit as a circle, whatever. We wanna emit in an object. And what object do we want to emit in? Well, that we want to emit inside of our water mesh. There we go. So okay, let's hide our fluid sim thing, by the way. Okay, and what we want to do is, let's rename it, by the way, Lego emitter. That'll be a better name. So now what it is doing now, it's starting to emit stuff inside of our mesh, but it's going all crazy, and that's not what you want. So what we want to do is we want to emit it at a rate, but we want a lifespan of 1 frame, so they will emit only within the one. They will emit in the frame and then get killed the frame after it. Because and what we want to do is we want to reduce the speed to 0, because we don't need them to have any speed. They're just gonna be used to clone our Lego bricks on. And let's crank up the fucking. There we go. So as you can see what's happening now. It's still. Maybe put it up a little bit. I'm going to go to the display to make this a little bit shorter. So as you can see now, they're being generated within the Lego thing. They're twitching around and everything, but they're just being generated in a frame and then getting killed off in the next frame, which is what we want. So that's good. But as you can see, they're really chaotic. They're not evenly spaced, and like Lego bricks need to stack up on one another, right? So how we go about doing that is going to emission. I have to look into where I had to do this again. 1 second, I need to find where this whole there we go. Emit from. Okay, so it's in the object tab where we set our object, and now it's set emit from polygon center. So what it's doing, let me open my water measurement. So it's emitting a particle, as you can see in some examples. It's emitting a particle in the center of each polygon. But that's not what we want, because this isn't really that evenly spaced out. I mean, there's also weird polygons like that. What we want to do is we want to okay, this is gonna really slow down. We want to emit in a voxel grid. So basically what this is doing, it's gonna spawn everything within this grid like thing, as you can see. So this is already looking a little bit better, but as you can see, the resolution is of course way too low. Okay, so I'm gonna save, because my computer is gonna start to hate me in a little bit. Okay, I have no idea if I have to increase or decrease this. Okay, I have to decrease it. And I think I have to put on the maximum retrace. Voxel fill mode. Oh, one more thing. Is like, as I said before, oh fuck. Okay, one more thing. It's now still set to random, so they're still unorganized. Need to set them to ordered. There we go. So now it's just filling the one axis. So now I need to let me take a look at what settings I need to use again. I want to fill in the, there we go, I want to fill in the, which axis do I want to fill again? Yeah, this is what ordered. Why? Okay, I'm just gonna open up my original thing to check what I did again. Okay, it's set to 18100 and Y. What the hell? Why isn't it? Oh, really? Stuff like this always. Oh, I don't need to. Okay, stop on full grid. Turn it off. Ah, there we go. Okay, so I turned off the stop on full grid thing. Oh, and it's still going kind of crazy. So I think I need to increase my particles. Oh god, and now it's gonna get really slow. Okay, so I'm just gonna put in 100,000, and now I'm gonna cache again, because this is just getting way too slow. So I'm gonna put this one in there. That's the only one that I need to cache. Lego cache. Okay, so what we did is we put this at a fucking insane amount. That's also why it's gonna get really slow. And then in voxel water mesh, voxel grid size, and now we're gonna create build, and let's hope my computer won't die. Okay, so this is gonna take a while. Okay, I'm gonna put down the particle count a little bit. I mean, you can just pause the video, but maybe we can get away with having just a little bit less particles. Oh god, Cinema 4D freezing again. Oh god. Is it free? No, it's not freezing. Awesome. Maybe this is a good idea to save again, or not. As I said before, it's just getting really heavy now. Like I think in the original Lego movie also they did this effect in Houdini, which is a bit better for like this types of crazy cloning things. I really need to learn Houdini, but haven't gotten to that yet either. Alright, so I'm gonna build this, which is gonna probably take a while. So okay, but at least it's going a bit faster. So now I can still talk to you while it's doing this, instead of waiting for it. Instead of just waiting for 20 minutes. So far so good. So you already get a pretty good idea of the Lego look with the whole cube preview style. Oh, we've already been recording for half an hour, by the way. That's pretty long. Are you still enjoying my company? There's some crazy shit going on over here, but that's of course because we didn't do a super high res sim. So that's also like, if you want to get the best possible result, just do a fucking fancy sim in Houdini or RealFlow or whatever. Or you can do a super high res sim inside of X particles. Will get a little bit slower, but it'll work. But now for this tutorial purpose, like the low res sim is quite okay. This is actually not taking too long. I love coffee. I actually quit drinking coffee for a week a while ago. I really didn't have any any withdrawal symptoms, which I thought was kind of funny because I usually drink a lot of coffee. But I mean, it was okay to not have coffee for a week. But now that I can have coffee again, coffee is awesome. So I hate simulating, and this isn't even taking that long. I mean, I've done simulations that took like hours. Especially if you're doing like super high res stuff, it's just really annoying. You make like this preview thing, and then you hit simulate, and it looks good, and then you do a high res simulation, and everything looks totally different, and then you have to start over again and whatever. Anyway, so now we did this. We did the cache thing, and this is also what I had in my original thing. Like there's a couple of particles being generated in here, over here. I have no idea why. Okay, you can see it. You see it over here. I had the same thing. Maybe because it just doesn't pick up on the whole, because there hasn't been a mesh generated yet, so maybe it just generates a random particle over here. So if any of you X particles creators watches this, why is this happening? Let's just put my input frame to frame 1 instead of 0, and it's still doing it. So let's put it at 3, and it still does it. So let's put it at where it doesn't do it, frame 6, whatever. YOLO. It's still, oh fuck it, we're just gonna go to 0, I don't care. Alright, so let's create a preview to see how this looks. So now we're generating preview again, because of course playback in the viewport isn't always that smooth. So it's always a good idea to create previews regularly, so you get a good idea of how your playback is going. I really hope my tutorial recording is going okay. I actually did a bit of tutorials before, and then like sometimes like it just wouldn't record normally. I just did a whole tutorial and then it only didn't record. Okay, and I'm using a new screen recording thing now because I have a UHD display. It's actually it's really hard to record a UHD screen on if you have a Windows computer, at least like me. Because for some reason, like all the paid applications, they don't support 4K, or they support it really crappily. I tried the Bandicam thing, but it did a really crappy OpenGL thing in here. Made my linear workflow crash or something. But now I have this free screen recorder called Open Broadcast Software, and it's actually much better than like a lot of the paid stuff, which is nice. Okay, so let me play this back, and I guess maybe I don't understand why it's not previewing it. I guess there's a problem maybe with cache data and previews. I think I'm gonna send them an email about that, because it happened before. It's weird. Anyway, as I said before, I'm gonna run into problems, but you're gonna run into problems as well, and it's like that's what you learn from, right? Shouldn't cut out all the problems that you did. Just record the damn video and whatever. Okay. Anyway, so now we're going to the next step, which is generating little Lego cubes on top of these things. So let's create a new document and let's make a Lego brick, and we don't want it to be too high resolution of too many polygons, because else your computer will hate you. So let's make this it's gonna be really small anyway. Let's delete all the polygons that we don't need. Delete, optimize, select objects and delete. So now we have Lego. So this is our Lego brick. Maybe the bottom part a little bit higher. Right. Right, so super fancy Lego brick, my modeling masterpiece. Oh, what the fuck did I do? My modeling masterpiece. Look, if I render it, it's even more awesome. Oh my god, it's the best thing ever. No, it's not. Anyway, so let's paste this thing in here. Let's make it really smaller. There we go. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna clone this thing on top of those particles, and then my computer is gonna hate me and try to kill me, and then we're gonna run away, and it's like the beginning of the zombie apocalypse, sort of. Okay, so let's create a generator, which is this thing over here. It's on the generators, or you can also do the Shift C and type generator, and that's here, XP generator, whatever. Okay, so generator, and we're gonna put the Lego emitter in here. So now it will generate stuff on top of those particles, and so now you're not seeing anything yet. And then we're gonna put a Lego underneath this thing, and now my computer, oh, there we go, it's starting to hate me. Oh, let's put my level of detail lower, or doesn't that work with, oh god, oh god. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off and zoom out and then turn it on again. That's so slow. What I actually did in my original thing, I'm gonna turn this off again. Because the weird thing is, it's really slow in your viewport, but I don't know if you use Octane, but in Octane render, it's really fast. I can just spin around in real time. Okay, let me show you what I mean, by the way. So I'm gonna hide this. Oh, it's so slow. I really should learn Houdini or something. There we go. Okay, so now it's empty again. I don't care. I do want it to render. Okay, I'll go to Octane. Octane, where are you, Octane? Octane, live viewer window. There we go. So now Octane is gonna start up, which takes a while probably. But once it does, it should play back pretty quickly. And what? Oh god. Oh really? This is just. Okay, it's task manager says it's not crashing right yet, right? As of yet. It does look like it's sort of crashing. Okay, I'm just gonna end this. Open cinema again. Usually I just find it faster to just force quit something when it's not working and then just opening it again. There we go. Okay, so first off, I think I need. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the generator thing. Okay, so what I noticed right away with the whole generator thing is that I need more resolution inside of my voxel grid. So let me grid size, let me put it to 50 millimeters and let me run this cache again. Alright. So now they're a bit closer together. So let's just wait for this to cook up. Okay, this isn't working. Cancel. Maximum retries need to go higher then, I guess. No idea what why the maximum retries helps with it, but it will probably. But once you do have this cached, then it should work. It's just mostly that it gets so heavy, you know. Probably also gonna cache the Lego brick. Oh, there we go. Oh no, not enough. No. Okay, I'm gonna just edit this part out until I get it done. Alright guys, so I'm back. I changed some stuff here and there. Alright, so what I did is I changed the max retries and the voxel grid size a little bit, and I changed the max particles to 2 million. Because the max particles wasn't sufficient enough to fill up the entire grid. That's why I upped it a little bit. So also, as you can see, my user interface now is a little bit different. That's because I restarted again. This is my standard user interface thing. And this is the Octane window, which we're going to use in a little bit. So let me show you what it's doing now. So, oh yeah, by the way, one more important thing. The generator, which clones, is basically, it's a cloner. It's like a MoGraph cloner, but then for particles. But basically, the basic option is doing a straight clone. So what that would mean is that it literally does 2 million clones. That's why it also was freezing in the beginning. Because this is one of the problems I'm having with X particles, is that I think it really generates the 2 million particles, but it only displays the ones within the voxel grid. Because I mean, you aren't seeing 2 million Lego blocks. So I'm not sure what's up with that, if that's an optimizing issue. So if someone is watching this from, what do they call it, Insidium, I think. If someone's watching, maybe get in touch and tell me what's going on. Anyway, so what I also changed the shape a little bit of this thing, made it a little bit lower so it filled up the grid a little bit better. So okay, I'm gonna show you what it does now. Oh yeah, and I was talking about that. You need to change clone type to create render instances instead of straight clone. So that will just create an instance of the object instead of all separate objects, which is basically what you want to use if it's just an object that's not deforming, not moving, doesn't have a time offset or whatever. If you have any of those things, like maybe like offsets or whatever, then you might be better off doing straight clone. But for this, I mean, if you do a straight clone, it will just completely die on you, basically. Anyway, so it's still gonna be really slow, but I'm gonna show you what it did. I'm gonna turn that on. Oh wait, I'm gonna hide this, and I'm gonna click here. There we go. And as you can see, it's really slow, which was also my issue with the original render that I did, because the scene is just really heavy. And I mean, I have a pretty decent video card, but I think this generator thing is on your CPU maybe, and I'm not sure, but it could be. I'm not sure if it's multi-threaded. I think so, because Xparticles is multi-threaded, but it's just, I mean, you can hardly navigate it. Another problem with that is, let me save it. I think if I want to render it, then I need to apply a regular material because I have an octane material on it. It's also going to be really heavy to. Oh, it's not even that heavy to render. So that's something. But what I did to preview it, which is something that's really weird, if I'm hiding it in the viewport, so now I have sort of smooth, it's still a bit choppy playback, but if I turn on my octane render now, then I can literally almost real-time move around, which is weird because it's displaying the same thing that was doing here, but it's faster and it's rendering. So no idea what that's about. If you want to rotate around it, you can do that with the octane thing, but just casual rendering apparently is no problem doing in the regular engine. I mean, this is quite fast. Maybe if you start doing shadows or ambient occlusion, or God, if you want to try GI, it's probably gonna be pretty heavy. But let's do octane material for now, and let's make it. Although if you don't know what octane is, it's a GPU-based render engine that uses all your available GPUs, which makes it well, you can put on one. For example, I've only set it to my GTX 970 now. But it renders on your GPU, and it's basically, it renders real time, which is really nice. So if I'm gonna make this blue, so you can see now it's blue. I'm gonna make it a little bit glossy, because that's, of course, that's really nice. And I wanna do a HDRI environments. So let's do stock footage, HDRI. Which one shall we use? You can also just maybe just go with a regular. Let's try this one. I don't like it. You know, we don't really need a HDRI for it, but I just want a nice looking. This is okay. So as you can see, we now have a Lego type of effect. As you can see, it doesn't quite fill up yet. So maybe we wanna go ahead and just scale our Lego brick a little bit bigger and put it in the generator again. And now it fills up. As you can see, there's still gaps and everything, but as we did a pretty low resolution sim. As you can see, I can just scrub through this thing, and it plays. So if you render something like that, basically what you're getting is this thing. So I think that's basically all there is to it. Well, for the basic setup at least. Of course, there's much more stuff that you can do with it. I mean, Xparticles is full of options. Like I said, I still need to figure out a way to get like the color variation based on the velocities or just generating foam. Also, I'm not sure about the shape of the whole thing. If I can get in close now, and like if I go through it frame by frame, you can see it building up. So yeah, that's basically what it is. Not too difficult, but you can of course use this technique for like anything. I mean, if you make like an explosion, a particle-based explosion, you can use the same basic effect to create something like this. I hope you learned a lot. I like making the tutorial. I'm thinking of doing more tutorials in the future. If you'd like that, just let me know. If you have any suggestions, if you have any questions, or you can get something to work, or are you using another program? I know a little bit of other programs, so I might be able to help you out with if it's Modo related or Maya related. I haven't touched Max in ages, so don't know a lot about Max. Or if you have any Cinema 4D or Xparticles questions in general, or if you want to know more about Octane, for example. So hope you enjoyed it. Like the video if you like the video, share it around, whatever. So I'll talk to you next time.